after I had diligently managed to amass 200,000 followers on a certain anime-themed website. The fan benefit flag I had set up, which stated wear women's clothing when reaching 200,000 followers, was pushed to the top. However, just as I was recording a dancing video in a maid costume, the dormitory door was suddenly kicked open with a bang. "Daniel, why are you closing the door in broad daylight?" Before the pronunciation of the word door was fully out, the school bully Lucas, who came in first, stood there stunned. Behind him were the school hunk William and the academic genius Matteo. All three of my roommates were here. This sudden, unexpected situation pinned me to the spot. Weren't they going to watch Matteo's debate competition? Why did they come back so early? It took me 2 seconds to come to my senses. Panicking, I grabbed the phone on the table, jumped onto the bed, and buried my head in the quilt. All that was left in my mind were 3 words. I'm finished. I still remember clearly that 2 years ago, when I was reporting for my freshman year, I accidentally overheard the 3 of them talking. The 3 of them had grown up together since childhood and were all locals from Beijing. They arrived at school earlier than me. When I was huffing and puffing, pushing my suitcase to the dormitory door, they probably had just come back from playing basketball outside and were having a heated discussion about the game. That 6 from the School of Architecture just now not only looked effeminate, but also kept rubbing against me instead of playing basketball properly. I almost threw up from nausea. He looks like a gay. Lucas, you're really something. Into both men and women, just shut up. My hand that was about to push the door suddenly froze. Coincidentally, I have a face that has been mocked for looking like a girl since childhood. Moreover, I'm into men. Before the semester even started, I heard that Lucas is the heir of G Group, William's aunt is a school director, and Matteo's family has intricate connections with the political circle. I can't afford to offend any of these 3 guys. From then on, being a timid and cowardly person, I tried hard to pretend to be straight for the sake of a harmonious atmosphere in the dormitory for the next 4 years. Now that they've caught me wearing women's clothes, will they think I'm a sissy and a pervert? I buried my head in the quilt, trying to muddle through by suffocating myself. However, things didn't go as I wished. The 3 guys at the door also came to their senses. Lucas, who was in the front, shocked, dug me out of the quilt with a voice as loud as if he had swallowed 10 megaphones. "Daniel, wait a minute. What's this outfit of yours? A little skirt? A bow?" Lucas kept chattering and his hands were also restless. He lifted the quilt and groped around. I was so panicked that I felt like I was being roasted on a fire, sweating all over my head and my cheeks flushing pink. "Damn it. Daniel, your waist is so soft and slender. How come I never noticed your legs were so white before?" Somehow, when I came to my senses, I was already in Lucas's arms, and his hot palm was still rubbing against my waist. William then sat down on my other side, fished me out of Lucas's arms, and his fingertips brushed against my lower back. He smiled gently and covered my legs with a small blanket. "Daniel, why did you suddenly dress like this? Are you lonely and looking for a girlfriend?" "Yeah, Daniel. What kind of stimulation did you get to suddenly do this?" Lucas echoed as if he had just realized something. I was immersed in the embarrassing mood and told them about the fan benefit thing. I carefully observed their expressions. "You won't think I'm disgusting and perverted, will you?" Lucas raised his eyebrows. "Whoever dares to say you're disgusting, I'll kill him." William smiled and ruffled my hair, indicating his agreement with Lucas's words. Even Matteo, who had been silent at the back, nodded expressionlessly. "Just be yourself." I saw that there was indeed no disgust on their faces and breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that the situation is not as bad as I thought. It's worth your hard work in building the dormitory relationship. My video of dancing in a maid costume was accidentally saved and automatically uploaded when I was in a hurry as Lucas kicked the door. When I noticed, this video had actually reached the front page of the website. The playback volume of a single video actually exceeded 1 million, and for a moment, the screen was filled with bullet comments. It became popular on the internet unexpectedly. But fortunately, only half of my face was shown in the video, so there wasn't much change in my real life. After this incident, the relationship between the 3 of them and me became a bit closer for some reason. What's annoying is that each of them is overly enthusiastic and clingy. On Saturday, just as I finished packing up and was about to go to work part-time, Lucas suddenly popped up, put his arm around my neck and locked me in his arms. "Where are you going?" "We agreed to watch me play basketball this afternoon. I'm going to do a part-time job." I struggled a bit but couldn't break free. I looked up at him, signaling him to let go of me as I was about to be late for my part-time job. He looked down at me. Somehow, a hint of darkness welled up in his eyes. So Daniel, you're going to break your promise. His voice was very soft, but somehow it revealed a sense of danger. I instinctively showed weakness. I'll try to come back as soon as possible. Then Daniel has to compensate me. His rough thumb was rubbing the skin on the back of my neck, and his voice was lazy yet left no room for doubt. Wear the skirt for me one more time tonight. I let out a startled cry. Lucas, I'm here. He let go of me and casually gave my butt a pat. It's settled then. Don't try to back out, or you'll bear the consequences. I still hadn't recovered my senses until I changed into my part-time work uniform. Why on earth does Lucas want to see me wear a skirt? It was clearly him who said that effeminate men are the most disgusting. Not to mention a grown man wearing women's clothing. At the thought of Lucas' request, for the first time, I hoped that the part-time job could last longer and longer. Suddenly, my face felt cold. Looking up, it was Michael, a fellow part-timer and schoolmate, who pressed an iced coffee against my cheek. He raised his eyebrows. What's wrong? You've been distracted all afternoon. I shook my head, took the coffee, and thanked him. Taking a short break, we took 2 sips of coffee and then put the newly arrived goods from the warehouse onto the shelves together. Suddenly, 2 girls came over. One of them blushed and poked Michael. Little brother, can I add you on WeChat? Hearing this, I looked at him teasingly and moved aside, afraid of blocking his romantic chances. Michael seemed to glance at me and then smiled and shook his head at the girls. Sorry, I have someone I like. After working part-time together for 2 years, I just found out that he actually has someone he likes. Compared with the other 3 guys in the dormitory, I feel closer to Michael, who also comes from a small county and has a poor family background. He is one of the rare good friends I've made in college. So after the girl left, I half jokingly and half gossiping leaned over to tease him. Not bad. You. When did you fall for someone? You even kept it from me. He ruffled my hair and continued to sort out the goods with a smile on his lips. I won't hide it from you. I'll introduce her to you in a few days. After he said that, I kept it in mind. This is the first time my best friend in college is taking me to meet the girl he likes. What does this mean? It means he also regards me as his good buddy. Thinking like this, I felt happy. After work, I took out my phone and there were 7 or 8 new WeChat messages. All of them were from Lucas. When will you get off work? The first half is over. Have you come? Daniel, Daniel, Daniel. Say something. Daniel, Daniel, the compensation will be doubled tonight. When I rushed to the stadium in a hurry, the basketball game had already ended. In the vast venue, there was only Lucas alone. He stretched out his long legs and sat casually in the rest area. Hearing the sound of footsteps, he lazily lifted his eyelids. The next moment, he grabbed my wrist and walked outside. I quickly spoke up. Where are we going? He looked back at me, with a curve on his lips, to claim compensation. I was taken by Lucas to his off-campus apartment. He took out a handbag from the bedroom and gave it to me, then turned around and went to the bathroom himself. When I opened it, it turned out to be a set of bunny girls' clothing. Is this something a grown man like me can wear? I don't know when the sound of water stopped, and Lucas's voice came from behind me. Why haven't you changed? When I turned around, he was wrapped in a bath towel and walked over lazily. The impact of this male beauty was too great. After all, I'm a young and energetic man. I quickly lowered my head and didn't dare to look around randomly. Unfortunately, he was completely unaware of his own good looks and actually leaned over directly. Usually, his eyes were bold and sharp, but at this moment, they drooped like a poor puppy. Daniel, do you hate me? I was very surprised. Why would you think so? He pouted and got even closer to me. His abs were even touching my arm. But you're not even willing to wear a skirt for me. You'd rather wear it for strangers online. Look, you're not even willing to let me get close to you now. Daniel, tell me what bothers you about me. Can I change? Is the school bully's heart really that sensitive? I softened for a moment and explained gently. I don't hate you. Then wear it for me once. Okay. Before I could finish speaking, he looked at me expectantly. I closed my eyes. Just this once. I picked up the handbag and went to the second bedroom without noticing the triumphant smile in Lucas's eyes. Daniel, if you don't come out, I'll come in. Yes. After changing into women's clothing, I had been in the second bedroom for more than 10 minutes, looking at the ridiculously short skirt and mesh black stockings in the mirror. My face blushed all the way to the ears. What kind of improper women's clothing did Lucas buy? The door clicked and was opened. The noise startled me. When I turned around, I was tripped by the carpet and sat directly on the bed. Lucas walked in. The moment he saw me, The darkness in his eyes churned. He stood by the bed, looking down at me against the light. The air suddenly became thin, and the temperature on my face continued to rise. He leaned over, his voice hoarse. "Daniel, you're only allowed to wear it for me from now on. Remember?" My heart was pounding like a drum. Under his gaze, I unconsciously nodded and agreed. He smiled satisfactorily but didn't get up. His eyes fell on my lips. I subconsciously swallowed my saliva. Suddenly, a phone ring broke the abnormal atmosphere. Lucas pinched the bunny ears on my head twice and turned around to go out to answer the phone. My mind suddenly cleared up. What on earth was that just now? I quickly closed the door and changed back into men's clothing. When I came out, Lucas was also fully dressed. He said that there was something at home that needed him to go back and deal with, and he estimated that he would need to take 3 or 5 days off. Hearing this, I heaved a sigh of relief. Not seeing him would at least avoid the kind of out-of-control situation just now. Otherwise, if I stayed any longer, I was afraid of being self-indulgent and thinking that he also liked men. After returning to the dormitory, it was pitch black inside. Only then did I remember that besides Lucas taking leave because of something at home, Matteo had also gone to another province to participate in a competition and would come back a week later. As for William, his daily activities were rich and colorful. It wasn't strange that he occasionally didn't return to the dormitory. In the middle of the night, in a daze, I felt an arm wrap around my waist, and my body was squeezed into the corner of the wall. The whole quilt became crowded. I subconsciously groaned irritably, but the arm around my waist tightened a bit more. I was suddenly awakened with a start. How could there be an extra person in the bed? Stiffly turning over, William's impeccable handsome sleeping face appeared beside my pillow. How did this guy climb into my bed? I gently pushed him and said, "William." There was no response at all. I increased the force and said, "William, go to your own bed." He gave a soft grunt, and I thought he was awake. However, the next second, he clung to me like an octopus and unconsciously murmured, "Baby, don't leave me." The more I tried to pry his limbs off, the tighter he clung to me. In the end, I was exhausted, while he slept more soundly. Does this guy have such good sleep quality? The next morning, as soon as William opened his eyes, he saw me, who had been held in his arms all night without sleep. He raised his eyebrows, and then broke into a bright smile. "Daniel, good morning." I had dark circles under my eyes and a blank expression. "What do you think is good about me?" He pinched my face and said, "Daniel is good everywhere, having endured a whole night of discomfort." At this moment, I was not at all timid. I glared at him angrily with my messy hair. "Why didn't you sleep in your own bed last night?" He frowned slightly, looked at my bed, as if trying to recall seriously, and then with an apologetic look, he came to a conclusion. "I seem to have sleepwalked. I was in a bad mood last night and had a bit of wine. I always sleepwalk when I drink. I didn't expect to end up in your bed." I suddenly remembered his sleep talking last night. That sentence, "Don't leave me." So did he break up with his girlfriend and that's why he was in a bad mood and drank? But I've never heard that William has a girlfriend. However, it's true. I've never gotten to know those 3 guys that well, so it's normal that I don't know. He sat up, his eyes downcast and his voice soft. "I'm really sorry for disturbing you. Next time I drink, even if I have to sleep on the street, I won't come back to the dormitory." His sudden submission made me unable to get angry anymore. So I put on a straight face and awkwardly whispered, "There's no hurdle you can't get over. Drink less." William nodded, coupled with his expression of being dazed but seriously obedient just after waking up. He was as cute as a kindergarten kid, facing this face that seems like the masterpiece of Nua. I couldn't get angry at all. When William stood beside my bed with his sunny smile again that night, I seriously suspected that he was doing it on purpose. Daniel and Alexander came to visit, and they accidentally spilled cola on my bed. "Let's squeeze together tonight," I asked in doubt. "Doesn't Alexander never drink cola?" Alexander, who suddenly appeared in our dormitory, glanced at William's gentle and smiling face and quickly shook his head. "Daniel, you remembered wrong. I, the chubby one, love cola the most." "Sorry, William. I slipped my hand and made you have nowhere to sleep." William generously said it didn't matter and pushed Alexander out, then looked at me eagerly. I looked around the dormitory and said, "Lucas and Matteo aren't here. You can sleep in their beds." "No way." William shook his head. "Lucas has such a bad temper. If he knows I slept in his bed, I'm done for." As for Matteo, to be honest, I'm a bit scared. I looked at him speechlessly, and he stared back at me intently. I just couldn't stand it. I gave in and quickly looked away. Just like this, for the next 3 or 4 days, William used the excuse that the new mattress and sheets hadn't arrived yet and was as sticky to me as if glued on. From attending classes to going to sleep, we were inseparable to the extent that I had the illusion that we were in a relationship. It's killing me. A week passed. Lucas and Matteo finally came back. When Matteo asked me if I wanted to go to the library with him, thinking that I could get rid of being glued to William, I readily agreed to him. Inside the library, Matteo was looking at the computer intently, with 3 or 4 professional books beside his hand. When he felt my gaze, he would turn his head slightly and softly ask me if there was anything I didn't understand. Compared with William and Lucas, Matteo is the most normal one among the 3 of them, although his attitude towards me has always been cold and aloof since the beginning of school. Precisely because of this, I feel more at ease. It was already 10:30 at night when we came out of the library. The evening breeze at the end of summer was slightly cool and refreshing. The Matteo beside me suddenly spoke up. "Daniel, with your foundation, you can definitely get recommended for postgraduate studies if you work hard. However, you're a bit weak in 2 professional courses. I'll teach you from now on." I widened my eyes. Could it be that the cold academic genius actually offered to help me with my studies? What a lucky thing. I nodded frantically. In my excitement, I couldn't hold back and grabbed his arm, smiling with my eyes bent to express my gratitude. "Genius student of Wonjo University. You're so kind." He looked down at my hand holding his forearm. The corner of his lips seemed to curl up slightly, and then he said nothing more. When we got back to the dormitory, Lucas and William were playing games together. Seeing me come back, William immediately turned off his phone and walked over, smiling as he put his arm around my neck. "Daniel, you're finally back. We've been waiting for you to go to sleep." Lucas beside him squinted his eyes and also put down his phone. "What do you mean? You're going to sleep with Daniel?" Before I could explain, the smile on William's face widened. "What's the big deal? Daniel has been sleeping with me these days when you and Matteo were away." As soon as he finished speaking, Lucas fixed a sharp gaze on me, his face showing a bit of displeasure. On the other side, Matteo, who was organizing his things, paused for a moment, and the temperature around him suddenly dropped. But William seemed completely unaware and kept urging me to go and wash up. Whenever 2 or all 3 of them are present, their auras always create a powerful sense of oppression, making me instinctively back down. Just like at this moment, I only dared to protest in a low voice to William. "I saw you got a new mattress. Don't try to sleep in my bed." William took his pillow from the bed and said with a helpless smile, "Daniel is so heartless." I didn't dare to look at the expressions of the others. I quickly washed up and climbed into bed. But when I looked at myself in the mirror the next morning, I was completely stunned. There were actually a series of tiny red marks on my collarbone. After deducing the culprit of the red marks in my mind, I asked Matteo to go to the library first. Then I went to find Lucas alone. His major is different from mine and Matteo's. I went just as he finished class. Just as I was struggling with how to ask if it was him who secretly kissed me at night, he was called over by someone not far away. "It's William." Separated by trees and flowers, they don't seem to have noticed me, not intending to eavesdrop on their conversation. I was about to leave when I heard them mention my name. "Lucas, don't tell me you've fallen for Daniel?" Lucas blew out a smoke ring, raising his eyebrows. "What nonsense are you talking about?" William gave a snort of laughter. "Stop pretending. I saw everything in the second half of last night. Like a bandit, you pulled open the quilt, hugged him and kissed him wildly. I really didn't expect that young Master G would also have a fling. So it was really Lucas who did it." My eyebrows twitched, and I couldn't tell what I was feeling. Lucas continued to lean on the railing, smoking. After a moment, he hooked his lips and slowly said, "Just for fun. Anyway, life is so boring. You even slept with him in your arms. What's wrong with me giving him a couple of kisses?" My heart suddenly sank. The little bit of intimacy and ambiguity in the past was like a slap in the face. It showed that I was being self-indulgent. "Over there." William let out a teasing laugh. Who was it that said he was disgusting when seeing his photo back then? If it weren't for, I didn't hear the rest of the words. The sudden ringing of the phone brought me back to my senses, and I immediately ran away in a flurry. I was running. The rapid breathing and the pounding of my heart showed how embarrassed I was at the moment. Finally, I understood that even though I had been carefully currying favor with them for 2 years, the preconceived prejudice had always been between me and them. To put it bluntly, being nice to me and teasing me these days was just the boring pastime of these young masters. I'm so stupid. After that day, I went out early and came back late every day, trying my best to avoid Lucas and William. At the same time, I was also considering whether to move out of the dormitory and rent an apartment outside. As for Matteo, I thought about avoiding him too. But when he solved my homework questions in just a few words and came up with 3 project plans in 10 minutes, I decided to keep relying on him. I can't punish Matteo because of Lucas and William, so, besides working part-time with Michael, I basically spent the rest of my time with Matteo. However, after class that day, Matteo was called away by the teacher. As soon as I stepped out of the classroom door, William put his arm around me with a smile and led me into another empty classroom. Lucas was leaning against the lecture desk, playing with his phone with his fingertips, and staring straight at me. He walked towards me slowly and reached out to hook my neck. I stepped back subconsciously and bumped directly into William's arms. The latter put his arms around my waist, kneaded my earlobe, and his gentle voice still carried a hint of grievance. "Daniel, why have you been avoiding me and Lucas these days?" I lowered my eyes to hide the emotions in them. No. Lucas suddenly kicked the desk beside him. "Then you've been hanging out with Matteo every day this month and ignoring us? What are you making a fuss about? Can't you just be obedient like before?" I suddenly looked up and stared directly at him. "Obey what? Obey your words to play with me." "Play with you? Where did you get that conclusion?" Lucas frowned irritably. I took a deep breath and said, "I heard everything you said downstairs of the 4th teaching building that day." Lucas concentrated and recalled for a moment, and finally seemed to remember what it was. He let out a sneer. "So, you think Matteo is a good guy?" He put his hand on my shoulder and stared at me with deep eyes. "This dormitory was originally planned to accommodate only 3 people. Do you think why it's you who are in the same dormitory with us 3? Because it was specially designated by Matteo. He said you looked like an easy target and it would be fun to live together." I was stunned for a moment, and my face turned pale. I never thought that all this was deliberately arranged. It seemed that seeing my complexion was really bad. William gave Lucas a sideways glance and said, "Daniel, we're not. So what?" I interrupted William and looked straight at them. "Is it such an honorable thing to live with you? Just because you let me live with you, should I take it as a favor and be grateful for all the teasing you've given me?" "Yes, I look effeminate and I'm timid by nature. Even I do like boys. But these shouldn't be the reasons for you to mock me. That's it. I'll apply to change the dormitory as soon as possible. I can't be on equal footing with you." Maybe they didn't expect me to say so. A look of panic flashed across Lucas's eyes and he reached out to grab me. Suddenly, the classroom door was pushed open. Michael was standing at the door looking at me and waved his hand. "Daniel, there's a temporary part-time job activity today. Didn't you forget about it?" I quickly ran over, coming. I didn't care about their expressions. "I passed by the classroom and saw those 2 guys surrounding you. You seem very reluctant, so I lied to you about the temporary part-time job." Michael softly spoke beside me. I shook my head and thanked him for helping me out of the situation. When he heard that I wanted to apply to change my dormitory, he accompanied me to see the counselor, as if having been informed in advance. After hearing my purpose of coming, the counselor said there were no dormitories available for me to change to. I thought for a while, gritted my teeth, and decided to take on 2 more part-time jobs and rent a place near the school. Suddenly, Michael's eyes lit up and he said, "Actually, besides the part-time job with you at the trendy toy store, I also write some small software in my spare time. Since I often stay up late writing code, I've rented an apartment outside. If you don't mind, you can live with me." I was stunned and waved my hands repeatedly. How could I be so cheeky? He's working so hard to earn money from part-time jobs. I have no reason to take advantage of him. He laughed heartily and said, "Don't be shy. I'll charge you rent. You can pay me later when you have the money." After serious consideration, I thought his suggestion was feasible, so I decided to go back to the dormitory right away, pack up my things roughly, and move out. Michael was even more enthusiastic than me and shouted that he wanted to help me move. When we got back to the dormitory, the 3 of them were not there. I didn't have many things, so I packed them up quickly. When I saw the set of paintbrushes in the dark blue box on the table, my gaze paused for a moment. This was the birthday gift Matteo gave me a few days ago. Yes, no one knew my birthday. Even I myself had almost forgotten that I had a birthday. That morning, on the way to the library, he suddenly stopped. Then he took out that set of paintbrushes from his backpack and handed them to me. The eyes that were always as cold as ice were tinged with rare tenderness under the soft light of the morning sun. "I accidentally saw the drawing you made in your book. It's very beautiful. I thought you should like painting, so I bought you this set of paintbrushes. Daniel, happy birthday. I wish you peace and happiness year after year. Everything you want to achieve will come true." At that moment, My heart skipped a beat suddenly. Matteo is really a person with proper manners and great attention to detail. Perhaps that's why. When I see this set of paintbrushes again now, my heart becomes even more sour. I didn't take it away. Coincidentally, when I was carrying things downstairs to the dormitory, Matteo just came back. Lucas and William should have told him what happened today. Rarely, there was a hint of helplessness in his eyes. Daniel, I'm sorry. I closed my eyes and said, so, it was really your kind words that allowed me to live in this dormitory. The hand that held my arm flinched. Daniel, don't be like this. Matteo, thank you for helping me with my studies during this time. I forced a smile and thanked him, but at present, I really can't let go of being teased by them like a fool. After sharing an apartment with Michael, I never met Lucas at school again. Instead, William came to see me from time to time, apologized to me, and hoped that I could move back. Meanwhile, Matteo still insisted on showing up around me every day, except that our seats were not next to each other. It seemed no different from the past when we used to go to classes and the library together. On New Year's Eve, Michael suddenly said that he would take me to meet the person he liked. The meeting place was still a high-end restaurant where one needed to consider their attire. It was enough to show how much Michael liked that person. He had hidden it quite well. Usually, he never said a single word to girls, but suddenly he had developed a relationship to the point where he could bring the person out to meet his buddy. Thinking that I had left a shirt suitable for today's occasion in the dormitory, I went back to the dormitory to get it after class in the afternoon. Unexpectedly, Matteo, who was supposed to have gone home for the holiday, was actually in the dormitory, as if he had known I would come. He quickly closed the door and hung a padlock on the bolt. Just like that, he locked both me and himself in the dormitory. Matteo stared at me without blinking, and I felt a bit uncomfortable. Aren't you supposed to be at home? He nodded, not blinking his eyes. I had originally left, but I accidentally heard a piece of news. So I had to come back. What news? I took a step back under his intense gaze. His gaze was heavy as he took a step forward. Suddenly, he took out an iPad from behind him, opened a folder and showed it to me. This is my medical examination report, showing that I'm in good health. These are all the honors and qualification certificates I've obtained since I was born. These 3 are the properties currently under my name, located in Beijing and Hong Kong respectively. I currently have about 7-figure liquid funds. I should be in Beijing for the next 5 years, but if you want to go to another city, I'm willing to go with you. What? He rarely spoke so many words at once, and I couldn't react for a moment. He looked at me seriously. What I want to say is, Daniel, I like you. I think that with all these, I should barely be worthy of you. So, Daniel, could you give me a chance and allow me to be with you? I stood there stunned for a moment. I never thought that the cold and aloof Matteo actually liked me. After a long time, I finally stammered, is this another prank game? A flicker of guilt flashed across his eyes, and he shook his head. I apologized for the things I did that hurt you before. I admit that at first, I was attracted to you because of your looks. After seeing your photo on the student information form, I wanted to get to know you, so I arranged to be in the same dormitory with you. But later, I found that you are hard-working, gentle and kind. On countless quiet nights, just thinking that you were in the same room with me made me very happy. At that moment, I realized that I liked you. I know my heart is despicable, but from beginning to end, having you in the same dormitory with me was never because I thought you were easy to bully because of your appearance. Lucas spoke carelessly, and I apologized to you again. I fell silent. At the same time, I despised myself in my heart. After hearing these words, I shamefully had a momentary flutter in my heart. Matteo is like a noble and elegant gentleman as described by the ancients. He openly expressed his love and admitted his mistakes in front of me. However, I shook my head. Sorry, Matteo, I can't accept. His shoulders sank slightly. Then, with a lonely smile in his eyes, he said, it doesn't matter, but sorry, I won't let you go out tonight. I can't be magnanimous enough to watch you be with that guy Michael. Question marks kept popping up in my head. So did he suddenly lock me up and confess his love because of Michael? Seeing my expression, he understood in an instant. This afternoon, when I accompanied my cousin and his wife to look at wedding rings, I ran into your roommate. He was also choosing couple rings. He told the salesperson that he was going to confess his love tonight, and the other person was also a boy. He hoped to be recommended some more neutral styles. It's unlikely to be me. Although I was very shocked that Michael actually liked boys, I was even more shocked by Matteo's words. He nodded and said, but even if there's only a 1 in 10,000 chance that it's you, I have to stop it. After New Year's Day, I found another part-time job during the winter vacation. Besides working at the trendy toy store during the day, I also had to work as a waiter in the bar at night. I wanted to move out of Michael's place. It would be good if he didn't like me. If he did, but I couldn't respond to him while still taking advantage of him. I feel very tormented. Matteo somehow found out where I was working part-time. He followed me both during the day and at night. When I was at the trendy toy store, he would either read books or look at me in the nearby coffee shop. When I was working in the bar, he silently sat at the bar and stared at me. Perhaps his aura and gaze were too cold, which helped me scare away many people who wanted to make inappropriate moves. After the winter vacation, I finally managed to rent a small single room. In the following days, life was simple yet busy. I had classes, worked part-time, and prepared for postgraduate entrance exams and postgraduate recommendation. William would pop up from time to have a few words with me. Lucas had disappeared from my life for a long time. He probably found better prey. Matteo still showed up around me every day without fail. Surprisingly, I gradually got used to his quiet and unobtrusive companionship until the list of recommended postgraduate students was announced. I was reported by someone. I was reported for having an improper private lifestyle. On the school's official forum, someone anonymously posted my high school photos. The nightmare that haunted me for most of my senior year in high school swept over me again. I felt as if I had returned to that dark senior year in high school. Since my parents divorced when I was 6, I had been living with my grandma ever since. This also led to me developing a timid, cowardly, and somewhat introverted personality. So in high school, when that sunny boy showed his affection for me, cared about me meticulously, and confessed his love to me, I was smitten. We secretly fell in love. On his birthday, he asked me to write a love letter for him as a gift. I filled the letter paper with those sincere and passionate love words that I dared not say on normal days. Then that piece of paper ended up in the hands of the boy's mother and on the head teacher's desk. That mother used extremely insulting words on me. I looked at the young man pleadingly, but the young man lowered his head. He acquiesced to what his mother said. It would have been okay if things ended there, but his mother not only caused a scene at school, she also went to my home while I was in class. She insulted my grandma, saying that I was a pervert who seduced her son. In that late autumn of my senior year in high school, my grandma was so stimulated that she suffered a sudden heart attack and passed away. From then on, I was all alone in this world. I took a leave of absence from school. After adjusting for more than half a year, I finally got out of the shadow and joined a repeat class. I want to cheer up. Even if I'm as miserable as I am, I still really want to have a future worth looking forward to. It's just that I didn't expect this nightmare to be brought up again. This is something that can't be self-proven, but I still tried my best to collect and organize proof materials. However, just 2 days later, I heard that the person who reported me voluntarily withdrew the report. After the withdrawal, I also heard that he was beaten up one night when he was walking alone. But anyway, the postgraduate recommendation quota was finally kept. Subconsciously, I even wanted to share this good news with Matteo, but suddenly I found that Matteo hadn't appeared around me for several days. Is it finally given up? But somehow, I felt a bit lost, depressed, and uncomfortable. William jumped out again to chat with me. This time, his expression no longer wore the standard smile like a mask as before. He sighed and said, "Daniel, we really know we were wrong. Won't you forgive us yet? I know you're angry, but regarding the matter of your postgraduate recommendation being reported this time, those two really helped a lot." I was slightly stunned and said, "Matteo and Lucas." He gave a helpless smile. Matteo almost dug out all the skeletons in that person's family closet for 3 generations in order to get that person to withdraw the report. As for Lucas, he learned about your high school incident and deeply regretted his actions. So he gave a good beating to the grandson who reported you. Before I could digest these words, Lucas popped up from somewhere. He rarely softened his tone. "Daniel, would you move back? It was my fault for speaking wrongly back then. I've never hated you, nor did I want to play with you. I just suddenly found myself always thinking about you, and it was a bit hard for me to accept my own feelings. But I didn't care about what he said at all. I was just thinking that both of them had appeared. But why hadn't Matteo shown up? He had been gone for 5 days. I hung my head and walked towards the rented house. Unconsciously, I was thinking about what William had just said and all the little things I had done with Matteo. It wasn't until I reached the downstairs of the community that I saw that familiar figure. Matteo was wearing a black windbreaker, standing tall and straight, and looking at me intently. At this moment, before I could even think, My feet had already started running towards him quickly. His eyes were gentle and the corners of his mouth curled up in a faint smile. Congratulations on being successfully recommended for postgraduate study without examination. I pouted and suddenly threw a tantrum. You've been gone for 5 days. What are you doing here all of a sudden? He explained softly, my grandma was seriously ill and was admitted to the ICU. I went home to take care of her. I sent you a message on WeChat to inform you, but you didn't reply. I suddenly remembered that I had set his WeChat messages to do not disturb, and I endured the urge not to open the chat box every day. I was afraid that he didn't send me a message, and also afraid that what he sent was something I didn't want to see. I thought of my own grandma and then asked him, so, how's your grandma now? She's in a stable condition now, so I came to see you. The tenderness in his eyes seemed to drown me. Daniel, I miss you so much. I stared fixedly at him. Something in my chest was about to burst out. I took a deep breath and bravely spoke up. Matteo, last time you asked me if I could be with you. If you still like me now, then my answer is yes. Matteo, I think I've fallen in love with you. His eyes instantly lit up. Intense emotions were surging in his eyes. He held my shoulders tightly, and his voice became soft and low. Sweetheart, help me take off my glasses. This sweetheart made my face flush and my heart race. Without thinking much, I dizzily and obediently took off his silver-rimmed glasses. The next moment, a storm of kisses landed on my lips. He seemed to want to blend me into his very being. You don't know. A long time ago, I've wanted to do this. I finally waited for you. After getting together with Matteo, at his strong request, the first person we told was Michael. He always firmly believed that on that New Year's Eve, the person Michael wanted to confess to was me. So, he wanted to assert his sovereignty. When Michael looked at the hands of Matteo and me clasped together, his eyes dimmed a lot. He forced a smile and congratulated us. Matteo looked cold, but there was a childish show off of a winner in his eyes. Then he gave me a look that seemed to say, see, I told you so. I really didn't expect that after the aloof academic genius stepped off his pedestal, he would be so jealous and childish. The second people Matteo wanted to tell were Lucas and William. Compared with William's expression of I've expected this for a long time, Lucas's shocked and hurt look was so genuine. He looked at me in disbelief. Daniel, how could you like this ice-cold face, Matteo? Are you still angry with me? I really know I was wrong. I didn't recognize my own feelings back then and spoke carelessly. But now I really like you and only you. Matteo looked unhappy and blocked Lucas's view of me. Lucas, watch your words. It's no use regretting now. The things you did to disrespect Daniel have already happened. Can an apology make the harm disappear? Deep remorse welled up in Lucas's eyes. Daniel, I'll wait for you. Wait until you break up with the ice block. Matteo sneered. In your dreams. After graduating from undergraduate school, I found an internship during the summer vacation that I could also do while pursuing my postgraduate studies. I rented a house outside with Matteo and lived there. I was excitedly planning my postgraduate and internship life, but Matteo started to bring up old scores. He said coldly that I had shared a bed with William for a week, and he also wanted to make it up. So, that night, he naturally moved from the second bedroom to the master bedroom, and we completely started living together. One day, he said sourly again that Lucas had left a series of marks on my collarbone in the middle of the night. He also wanted to leave some. But, bad man, big liar. He didn't just leave marks on my collarbone. There wasn't a single part of my body that could be looked at properly. Until one day, with a gentle and harmless smile on his face, he locked the bedroom door and hung an additional padlock on it. I just felt that I was doomed tonight. He slowly took out the big bag behind him and dumped all the things inside on the carpet. He walked towards me slowly. I heard that you once wore women's clothes alone for Lucas to see. There are a lot here, sweetie. I also want to see. I looked at his smile and quickly tried to run away. He took a long stride and blocked me. His voice was coaxing and aggrieved. What? Other men can see, but your boyfriend can't. I was trapped in his logic. Just as I was thinking about how to refute, he acted coquettishly again. I want to see, okay? I blushed, bit my lip, and nodded. I never knew changing clothes could be so tiring. I'm so exhausted that I feel like ascending to heaven right where I am. But Lucas specifically called. When the phone rang, I quickly reached out to hang up. Matteo stretched out his long arm, mercilessly answered the call and put it on speaker. Lucas' loud voice came from the receiver. Daniel, if Matteo gets angry with you because of the cross-dressing thing, then such a person isn't worth it. I'm not like him. I've always been waiting for you. As long as you're willing to turn back. Daniel, I really like you. If you agree, I'm even willing to be the one in the shadows. Daniel, are you listening? The phone was suddenly hung up by Matteo. There was a dark storm in his eyes. He wants to be the one in the shadows for you. Do you want that? Do I want that? Given the current situation, do you think I dare to want that? I shook my head with tears in my eyes. He showed his strong possessiveness in his eyes without any disguise and smiled with satisfaction. Then he gently kissed me and said, "Sweetheart, remember, we should be faithful to each other." Suddenly, I recalled the way he looked when we first met, cold and abstinent, like a flower on a high mountain. Oh, come on. Where was he cold? At night, I was half asleep. I only felt that he held me tighter and tighter. I heard his murmur, "Daniel, I love you. Forever and ever. Stay with me." Extra story, Lucas's chapter. That morning, downstairs of the 4th teaching building, William looked at me teasingly. TSK, who was it that said he was disgusting as soon as he saw his photo? If it weren't for Matteo insisting on having him live here, could you have kissed the person he likes behind Matteo's back? I felt a bit uncomfortable at that time. Although Daniel was the one Matteo had designated to live here, there wasn't a label on Daniel saying, exclusive to Matteo. Then why is it called kissing the person he likes behind his back? Why don't you say that I also like Daniel? Wait, I like Daniel. This sudden thought really gave me a shock. I've always considered myself a straight man through and through. How could I possibly fall for a man? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Yet William just had to add fuel to the fire. Back then, when Matteo saw his photo, he decided to have him in our dorm. You weren't happy about it at the time, saying he was so effeminate, like a gay. Now, I bet you're secretly happy, hoping he is one, right? I got a bit annoyed and then remembered that he had slept with Daniel in his arms for a whole week. So I sneered and said, "Don't you like him?" He nodded and said, "To be honest, I really don't. I just saw that both of you liked him, so I was curious and wanted to give it a try." When I heard him say that, I felt a faint sense of unease in my heart. What on earth is William doing? Daniel isn't a plaything. He even said he was curious and wanted to give it a try. Unexpectedly, because Daniel had been avoiding me for a month, I got so emotional that I actually blurted out that I was just playing with him. I even blamed him for not being obedient. I also started avoiding Daniel, but I found that the less I saw him, the more I missed him. After I finally understood my own feelings, Matteo stepped in. How infuriating. But I think there must have been a moment when Daniel was attracted to me. As long as they aren't married, I'll surely be able to steal Daniel away one day. Seeing me hopping mad every day, William laughed heartlessly. Sometimes he would also cooperate with me and stir up trouble. He deliberately said to Daniel in front of Matteo, "Daniel, Matteo is so unromantic. If you get bored with him, you can consider the two of us." At first, I was really happy when William said those things, thinking that it should be able to sow discord between Matteo and Daniel. Later, I found out that I was a fool. Their relationship got better and better. We are just part of their play. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. No way. I'll get rid of my problem of being mouthy and stubborn. Author, you must compensate me with a wife.